Alright guys, I'm going to do a little bit different style of a video this time, and it's because I'm going to do a little bit of work on the old 6.5 Creedmoor Howa. You most recently had seen it in a chassis, but for better or for worse, I decided that I was going to switch it over from a chassis back to a stock. I like the chassis, but I just couldn't get over the way like the cheek weld met my face and the fact that it didn't have a bag rider. Those were big enough problems for me that I decided that even though it was pretty high quality, that I was going to try and go back to a stock like I used to have on my old Savage. And it's a Boyd's. Most of you have probably seen one like this. And I really liked the fit on my Savage, but this one seems to maybe, I don't know if it's quality control or if Howas are just a little bit different, but it did not quite fit out of the box. I had to do some modifications. So first off, I had issues with the bolt running in back here, and I actually had to take a fair amount of wood off right there. You need to focus. But as this would slide back, it would catch on both the sides and the bottom. So it would be catching right on this, but also down here. So I had to, and you can even hear that even after me taking off like a 1/16 to an 1/8 maybe, it's still getting a little bit of wear. Some of that sound is from the magazine, but so that kind of sucked. And the screws, for whatever reason, that screw that's right in there, if it'll focus, that screw down in there stood up through, like, I don't know if like the bottom of this is just a different height than the factory one, but this screw actually protruded up far enough that it was blocking the bolt from ever even coming back. So I had to file that down, and then I had to file this down to where it'd be even with the metal, which kind of sucked because I ordered this green paint specifically for the reason that I liked it, and I had to take a bunch off. But not only that, but I wanted to switch it to a detachable magazine, and I went with a company out of Australia for this insert. Let me flip the gun over, but first, it fits well now, but I also had to take a whole bunch of wood out of the bottom to get that to fit. So I actually had to like take wood off back here, and I'll show you after I pop this out. But I mean I was machining that down to where there's daylight almost, you can see through some of that. If the bolt was open, you could. I guess that doesn't change anything, but I had to take a considerable amount of wood off, and I trust this company. This was quite an expensive little thing, and I will get the name of that up on the screen here in a second because I can't remember what it was. But I feel like their job on making this was a lot more trustworthy than it seems this stock to be. So I had to take a ton of wood off to get this to fit in there. And I'll show you once I start to disassemble it, but it's just kind of frustrating. And I'm not saying that it's Boyd's, quality control or anything, because this is aftermarket. That, I mean, it was supposed to fit in, a factory Howa stock, but for whatever reason they didn't. But also with the top of the gun needing to be machined down or filed down back here, I kind of feel like the stock was just a little bit off. But I still like the way that it feels when I shoot, so I am going to maybe fill in some of that with some wood filler and sand it down. And then I'm going to do kind of a sponge camo paint job on this, because this green color actually did not match the FDE like I thought it would. So that's what this video is going to be, is some gun modifications. But I thought before I got into it, I'd just show you a little bit of the frustrations I was having and why I was digging into this thing. But all right, so I got the screws taken out. I actually forgot that I had to file down this screw as well, because it deaded out in the gun and then left the barrel floppy, or like the whole action had a little bit of play in it. But yeah, so you can see just how much I had to take off in the, oh, that wasn't smart. My bad. But so set that aside. But you can see how much I had to take off to get that to fit. And it was a little frustrating. That it, I mean, you know, still for a Boys is pretty reasonably priced, but for the money that I spent on that adapter plate and the stock together, you just kind of wish that they'd fit like they say they would. But and this is supposed to be pillar bedded, but then you look at that front one and it is sunken in, so the steel is never going to make, or the aluminum I think it is never going to make contact with the bottom of the gun right there. So what's the point of paying the extra 70 bucks to get it pillared bedded if that pillar is never going to make contact with your gun like it's supposed to? Kind of frustrating. But we are going to try and make this thing look like $1,000,000. So let's get to it. All right, finally got it stripped down. This is my test paint stick to determine which color I want for my base coat. I still haven't decided yet, but I don't know, either one would probably be good. All right, day 2 of this. This is the base coat color I decided to go with. I got it scuffed up, if you can see the sun side of it. I kind of did just a light sanding to scuff up the surface. I'm going to try and get a coat on before the wind picks up. Alright, I got the first coat of base paint on it, and honestly I think that the color it is right now could very easily just be left alone. I think it would match that Cerakote pretty nicely, but I think I'm still going to go with the Camouflage sponge painting on it, just because I think it would look pretty cool. But I'm liking the way it's turning out so far. So we will progress from here, I guess. Alright, so these are the 4 colors I decided to go with. I've been doing a little bit of test painting on some newspaper, but I actually kind of fell in love with this color just as it was, but I'm committed, so I think I'm going to start with the darks. I am babysitting today, so we get some background stuff, but I'm going to start with, I think, some dark, and yeah, let me hit the off button on that. I'm going to do some just dabbing over here on the side to pick up some color on the larger portion of this. We're going to see how it goes. I'm hesitant to push too hard. Get too big of splotches, but it's not turning out too bad. Heck, I might just leave it with this color on. That's actually turning out pretty sweet. With just one color. I'm gonna get a little bit more and continue on. This is after doing the second color, this lighter green. Starting to shape up pretty nicely. I'm going to give a few minutes to dry and come back and do probably this lightest green and then go over to the brown. Just for some touch-ups because I don't think I'm going to want very much of that on there. Alright, it's the next morning. And everything's dried. I think it turned out pretty darn good. I have to say I was kind of skeptical. I was worried I was doing too many colors, but in the end, I think that's pretty good. All right, we're to day 3 of this project now. I'm gonna put a clear coat on it finally. Had to wait for some bad weather to pass so I could spray paint outside. But I'm gonna find a nice little spot here in the yard and give it some clear coat. Oh, sorry. I'm bad at spray painting and filming at the same time. Here's the finished product. Trying to get a little bit better sound, but there's definitely a thing or two that I would do differently. Like this brown was supposed to be color matched to this FDE, and it is not quite, but it doesn't look bad as it is, but yeah, it didn't turn out so bad. I think that I definitely would do it again. So I'm going to do a little bit of shooting, but just a recheck 0 after the whole project. Didn't bring my filming setup for that, so yeah, thanks for watching.